Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 48. I thought this was a great episode. Again, I'm so happy these last handful of episodes have finally felt like we're in the endgame and not doing weird filler feeling stuff. I still have some mixed feelings on the overall handling and shuffling of the villains in regards to Suga and the stomachs and Boca, who I've just been calling the president. And it was this very episode I learned he was named Boca. I think after those old Boca burgers, those veggie burgers, I don't know. That's just a joke. But anyway, I have mixed feelings on that overall. In fact, the way this shook out, it made me think of what I would have rather seen, maybe in regards to the way the president stuff was handled, because you have a temporary alliance between Lango and Shouma, and the others, of course, to defeat the president. And I was thinking, and we'll see how this all plays out and how it compares to what I was thinking here, but I think what would have been a cool arc, setting aside Suga and what they could have done better with him, but an arc following the Suga arc could have been this president stuff, and I never really took him seriously as a villain until recently because I thought he was going to be like a passing by arc. But anyway, having that character be this threat that would require Shouma to team up with the entire Stomach family, maybe with the exception of G, because obviously they were really mad that their brother was killed or their sister was killed. So there could be that. But I think I would rather have it, instead of it just being Lango, be Lango and Neville and Glotto. And I think that would have been really interesting. And it would have made like a really fun, like Civil War-ish feeling story. And then get to where we are now, which is having Lango as the final villain. But maybe it would have been interesting to see, like, maybe one of the members of the Stomach family was redeemed. Maybe there was someone that sat in the middle. I think it would have been interesting that after all that, then the president's defeated. That Lango, of course, would betray them. But maybe Neville or Glotto would take Shouma's side. Because as I've said, I think it's refreshing that the family wasn't redeemed, but I wouldn't have minded one or some more gray areas. I feel like it really hasn't been until the last few episodes, or more often than not, a Stomach family member's last episode where we get some characterization to them. Point is, I think this could have been so much more and so much more interesting, but what we got was still good in this episode, as you have Shouma, as I said, making an alliance with Lango to team up with the other three to fight the president. And before that, you just have a little bit of aftermath from the end of the last episode. Of course, you have Lakia awakening Sachika and Shouma's uncle, and he's like, oh, I feel bad about having to do that, but I needed to save you. I didn't think Gavv was going to do this, but I'm glad it was just like, oh, it's okay, I know you had to do it, because many other series would play it out for the melodrama. Maybe if there were in earlier episodes, like if this was episode 40, maybe 38 of a different writer series, I could totally see the female writer character being mad at Lakia for 3 episodes or something, but I love how mature the responses are from the characters in Gavv. Same thing with like Shouma apologizing to Hanto about working with Neville, and then he says, no, I get it, and it was just a nice exchange. Again, that's one of the most refreshing things that will be a huge positive when I do the series review, is how everyone actually is pretty mature, and even when they're immature, it doesn't last for very long, which is really nice. So anyway, you have them all working together to fight the president, and when we get to the conflict, and you have Lango showing up there, and then the president gets this beyond final form going on there, like his ultimate Frieza form, which is pretty cool. It's an overall pretty cool character design, I have to say. And then, of course, the other 3 riders show up, and, he starts winning until it's time for a new form. And it's one of those classic undetermined forms. We get what I didn't know was called, because I don't remember it being called out in the episode, but I guess is the Amazing Gummy form. Anyone remember the Amazing Mighty jokes from the old RR podcast? And it's kind of like a fusion between the colors of the 2 forms, Over and Master ones, and then of course incorporating red, because the whole Red Gavv thing. And I'm not sure if this is my favorite or the Over one. I think I just like the purple on that one, but this one looks pretty cool too, and I really like it. The only thing I don't like about it is, it felt a little rushed and tacked on, and was just like I'm determined to eat gummies with dirt on them moment. And also, it's going to ignite that debate of what's the real final form, which is just so pathetic when it happens. Because technically, the Over and Master forms fill the toy production slot for the final form in regards to the gimmick toy coming out that comes out at the same time every year. But this is technically the final new form in the series, and there'll probably maybe be another form in any post-series content, and it's just, who cares what the final form is? Personally, I consider the Mega Mode Blue Beetleborg form to be Gavv's final form. Just, it's whatever you consider it, it doesn't matter. But it was cool nonetheless, and it's a cool suit. I imagine we'll probably see it at least one more time before the ending there. I do like when you have kind of surprise forms like that, because in some other series you do just get the final form, unless it's a, Beyond series post-V Cinema thingy. And it's kind of cool to have a nice little surprise like that, you know, to go even further beyond, or one more bonus. Speaking of, I just love that Daima, the dub, changed one more bonus to even further beyond in a nod to the Super Saiyan 3 transformation here. And I just like when they change the dialogue period for cooler lines. But anyway, so yeah, he's fighting and he kind of distracts the president, and then that allows Lango to betray him, or not betray him, to stab him in the back, and then he seemingly betrays Shouma by being like, I'm going to take this whole operation, because Shouma basically made a similar deal with Lango that he did with Neville, which is like, if I agree to work with you, then you stop attacking Earth. I don't think there was any part of Shouma living in the Granite Earth with this one, but it seems like he's going back on it and just taking the place of the president in this operation, which I like. I don't see a redemption arc for Lango. I'm glad that the stomachs are going to be the main villains in some form. I think it's interesting because I've talked a lot about, like, will they redeem one, will they not, whatever. But the two we have here, while they might not necessarily both die, I could see them killing off Lango and leaving Jeeb alive. I don't see any kumbaya redemption for either of them in regards to their relationship with Shouma, because I don't think they've set up Longo's character for that at all, and I think Jeeb has the biggest reason to actually dislike Shouma. Like, the others was all just, like, you know, sibling, like, you're not one of us stuff, but, you know, I guess it was everyone's brother, but because it was his twin, and they're basically Gavv's Andy and Ollie from Bob's Burgers, it's a little bit different. But yeah, I'll probably talk a lot in the series review about how much more interesting I think this could have played out if we had more of the stomachs alive for the final endgame, and maybe had some sort of balance. Kind of like, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but in Dawn Brothers, we had the three main human villains, and we basically redeemed them all, and I kind of wish we had done, like, one not redeemed, you know, one redeemed, maybe one in the middle, and I kind of wish we had done something like that with the stomachs, and having some of them just be straight-up villains that are taken out. Maybe one of them is redeemed and, you know, bonds with Shouma, and then maybe there's one that's just kind of a gray area. But, yeah, overall, though, still a solid episode, despite my mixed feelings on some of the overall storylines for the villains. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for all my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.